Testing 1 2. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me so we can start. But it's been a long time since I've been doing this. This is Live Solutions. I don't know if you can hear me. I can raise it a little bit, maybe. So this section of the channel, I don't do it that often, really, because I kind of forget to do it, maybe. But I just want to get back to it when I can. And this is just a way for you to leave questions related to anything, and I'll be trying to maybe give the shortest and the most effective answer to you, so we can maybe have some flow of a lot of questions that maybe some of you have, obviously related to bass and all of that. So you can leave them on the chat. I'm reading you right now, and also let me know if you can hear everything right, so we can start, right? And leave your questions maybe related to some struggles that you may have with the instrument. Of course, maybe something that I can do for you related to how to play this instrument, related to technique, how to develop whatever thing that you are trying to struggle with, really. As usual, sorry for my English. I do my best with managing to translate everything in my head, and also trying to speak correctly, because this is not my native language. I'm from a country named Chile. And maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you don't even know my face, because I don't show it that much. Obviously, the subject of the videos is more related to the bass and showing tablature, and I don't really care about showing my face if it's not related to helping you learn the song. And for me, it's not really necessary, right? So that's why I don't do it. Actually, the first video I ever recorded, that it's not on the channel, maybe it got lost. I don't really know where it is. It had my face, and it was kind of difficult to see the tablature because it was too tiny. So I just ended up cutting my face off and leaving more of it for you to see the tablature. So that's the reason, really. So at the moment that I can find a good question to start, I will start. Try to be specific on the matter that you're struggling with. It doesn't work if you just leave a question like, how can I be better at bass? Because it's a question that's too broad, right? You have a lot of things that you have to cover, and I could be all night maybe speaking to you about that. So it maybe needs to be a little bit more sharper questions, right? Okay, so I'm going to answer the first one. Mr. U or Mrs. U, I don't know. How do you accurately slap with your thumb without hitting other strings? So regarding to slap, obviously, maybe I can give you a little short lesson on how to do the slapping part, not the popping part, just the slapping part, right? So let's remember what we have to do to give a good slapping sound. So the motion is, many of other people maybe also tell you, it's all related to the movement on the wrist. This is the movement that you need to practice. You can actually practice it on whatever surface that you can, and trying to have that motion, right? So the struggle that you is mentioning, it's related to hitting the string accurately and not just doing like something like this, right? And not having the accuracy of trying to just slap one string, maybe the E string, the A string, the D string, and the G string, right? So I think the best exercise for that is actually doing what I just did, and trying to play an open E, playing an open A, an open D, and an open G, and trying to go up and down and trying to do it as slow as you can and as accurately as you can. So again, the motion you have to do is this one, and the part that you have to use is just the joint of the thumb. You know, you have to try and do this gesture and trying to pull the thumb maybe as backwards as you can. Maybe this is too much. I don't know, but it could be something like this. If you do it like this, it will be hard because you don't have a you're not exposing the joint that much. So you have to kind of like expose that part, right? That part, and that part is connecting to the string. And why that part is just maybe related to, because it's a harder part of the thumb, right? So that part, maybe not the center of the thumb is connecting to the string, maybe a little bit to the side, because the motion, to be natural, it has to be something like that, right? So maybe you're hitting with the side and maybe a little bit more of the center, or maybe in between. And as I always said on other live streams, the idea is just to use the correct amount of strength, and then releasing. It's also important to give more strength to the motion, right? So it's not just slapping and leaving it like that over here. You know, you have to kind of like make a whipping motion. In a whipping motion, you kind of like give the first attack and then release. So that creates really the strength and the speed that you can develop with this, right? So you have to, in slow motion, it will be something like that. It would be and then just trying to release and as loose as you can. So at the moment that you attack the string, you will attack and then kind of like release, or maybe just stopping the tensing of the tension of the thumb, right? So if you do it with exactly not that point that I just mentioned, it maybe sound something like this. It becomes not that defined because you're not using hard part against hard part. That would be the joint against the string. So you have to be accurate in that matter, trying to leave the most effective sound and trying to be accurate with each hit that you give. You know, it's not working if each sound that you do is different from the other. You have to be kind of like even on all the sounds that you're creating, right? So maybe if you do four, I don't know, 4 quarter notes, something like this. All of them have to be as accurate as possible and also as even as possible, right? And again on the A string, and trying to do it on the A string maybe a little bit harder. So it may sound less or more present and slappy, you know, in the greeting sound that you always kind of like hear, you know, because that would be also related to some adjustment that you have to do in your instrument, and this is something that maybe some of you are not clear about, and it's related to action and bass action. You have to lower your action a little bit, and that means the distance between the strings and the bridge, trying to lower it as much as you can. Obviously not trying to be that aggressive, because you will end up with a lot of fret bass, but if you're more related to slapping on your instrument, you have to lower your action, so it will be easier. You won't have to slap that hard. For me to do this, I'm kind of like slapping with a lot of strength, and you can hear that it's not the same presence that maybe you can get with other types of basses, and it's not related to other types of basses. It's just because I don't have my action that low. If I were to lower it a little bit, it may sound more present. So that's a thing to consider maybe. Okay, so just to end the question and going to another one, try exercising this. E, stop, A, then stop, D, then stop, and G, and then stop, and trying to do all of them as close and as even in time and accuracy as you can, right? So it's maybe something like this. I'm trying to silence each sound so it's clear, and it will also help you to manage to use your left hand to do that job, and that is important. So it doesn't sound like this, right? So maybe some good exercise would be something like that. And again, with good emotion and good accuracy, it will sound, I think, good. So let me know if that's enough for you. Maybe something that's related to this subject. I'm always ending up just talking about slapping and popping, and I just want to say this so it's for the record. I don't like it that much. I don't use it that much. It's not my favorite thing to do on bass, to be really honest. I like other things to do, but I'm also aware that you have to be really versatile on your instrument to generate what you want to create. So I'm also always practicing and trying to practice my slapping and popping technique, but it's not the the pinnacle of bass. Slap is not the pinnacle of bass. You don't. You're. It's not the highest form of playing bass. It's just another technique. It doesn't mean that the slapping bassist is the most virtuoso, really, or the best, if you think there is something like that on music. So we need to kind of like reformulate our thinking on that, right? But also slap is fun, so we love it, right? So I maybe had another question. How do you accurately? No, I think I lost it, but it was also related to slapping. I just wanted to say that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about thinking that if you slap, you're the best, and it's not really like that. So I just wanted to say it. Again, do you make your own songs? That's not a question related to, but I wanted to say it. I have some original covers that they're on the channel actually, and they're from my band. It's called Fanfarrabias, and you can search it. I think in the thumbnail it will be clear because it says original right behind it. I mean on the bottom, so it's not that hard to. And those are lines, or maybe it's not the full song that it's mine, but the line it's of my own. So maybe that will give you an idea of what I'm working with, related to original content. What else? If you have to take one amp to a session, what would that be? Maybe that's another strange question because actually I don't use any amps. Obviously, when I'm going to play in a band, I have to use it. But in my setup right here in my house, I don't have an amp. I just connect myself right into my audio interface and then use an amp simulator that you can actually get. I use a plugin that's from Waves. It's a company that creates audio plugins, and it's called Waves GTR, and it actually sounds pretty good. You get a pretty good sound of a bass amp with different types of microphones that you can put into the amp and cabinets and all of that. But if I were to answer that, maybe I would use Ampeg because I'm really kind of like used to that sound because I used it a lot. And again, with plugins, I used it a lot. So I maybe kind of used to that sound, but I think, and I don't think it's entirely related to the question, but with any amp that you have, the sound may vary a little bit, but again, to answer a more broad question that I always end up answering on the comments, it's important that you know that the main shaper of tone or whatever in your bass, it's actually the way you play. So it may be the bass or it may be the amp, but always remember that what fingers can do and what positions of your hand, especially on the right hand, can do to bass, it's quite important, right? So you can go from this sound, I don't know, a really sharp sound maybe, from this sound. or something like that, right? So going from that and always having a range of tone, it's really important for you to understand that maybe you end up thinking that some equipment will be the defining point of shaping your tone, and it's really you. So I think that's another thing that I wanted to say. I'm just saying things that I want to say related to the questions because maybe it will help you. I don't know. Can you use your thumb instead of your index? Not talking about slapping. And does it make difference at all? Because my index and middle always makes a different sound. Kind of scratchy. Right. I actually like to use the thumb to differentiate the same thing I was just saying about tone. I have a lot of calluses from playing a lot, obviously, on my index and middle finger. And on the other fingers, I don't have it that much because I don't use them that much. So maybe the sound of me playing with index and middle would be something like this. If I were to use my ring finger that I don't really use, it would be something like this. So if you listen carefully, there is a difference, right? Again, with index and middle, and with my ring finger. I'm trying to use the same amount of pressure, so you can notice it, but it's quite different. And that's just related to how hard is the thing that you're using to pluck, right? So you have maybe a little bit more of callus or a little less, and that will kind of like make a really hard difference on the way you play. So I use the thumb to create a darker sound. How do you create a darker sound? Is just trying to give it more of the meat of the finger, so it covers a lot of more of the lower frequencies of what you're playing. So again, if I were to do something like this with my index and middle, and again with my thumb now, the difference is really notorious, I think, because you don't use your thumb that much for plucking, and it's a bigger finger, so it has more meat, so you kind of like play it with more darkness, right? So that will help you to create different tones. It's used a lot for reggae. Some reggae bassists, I think, use it a lot to create this sound. I don't know. Maybe something like that, and that's good to create a good low end of your sound. If you apply that again, playing over here, it will be darker, but not that much if you do it over here. Right, so you can again control your tone depending on how you play on this range of your instrument, right? I have a question over here with a donation. Thanks so much, Ian. How can I achieve a tone similar to Peter Hook? I'm not really sure, but isn't that the basis from Joy Division? I'm not really sure. Maybe you can check it so I can say something about that. I have a Fender Rumble 150. Also, what country are you from? I'm from Chile. It's a country in South America. Maybe you know it. I don't have a reference to it. It's next to Argentina and it's below Peru. And it's a good country, but many things are going on over here. So maybe we can discuss something non-related in other time. But yeah, I'm from Chile. So what I was going to say, right? Peter Hook. Let me Google it a little bit so I can be certain who he is. Yeah, Joy Division, New Order, right? So I'm quite certain that he plays with a pick, and that also makes a really great difference. I think I did the Love Will Tear Us Apart cover, and I'm quite familiar with some Joy Division based sound, and I think the amp and a little bit of gain will be involved in that, really. So maybe we can hear just a little bit of a, I don't know if there's some maybe isolated sound that we can hear, so we can be more certain of that. I'm going to use again the same Love Will Tear Us Apart. Okay, so I hear a lot of, again, if you have an amp, a lot of mids maybe are involved, and maybe a little bit of treble, but not that much. Probably, maybe not that much bass actually. And maybe it's, if you have a kind of like a two pickup or a J type of instrument, maybe just trying to use one, maybe the bridge would sound better. And again, I want you to listen to what the difference comes if you use, again, a pick. It's just another way of creating different sounds. Okay, it's nothing more and less like that. And you get maybe a darker sound with a pick over here, and look how the sound will be shaped when I'm going down. Right, so there's a difference. So maybe I'm not certain really, but maybe something like this, and a lot of mids, and then maybe some more drive, so it sounds a little bit more aggressive. And it's really related. Maybe I'm not doing that much with the amp that I have over here. I just raised a little bit of drive, but it's really on the technique that I think you can maybe do something different, on the aggressivity that you're applying. Maybe I think I hear lower action that I have, so that maybe help you to get more a more aggressive tone, because when you lower your action, again, as I mentioned, the action is the difference between the distance between the strings and the bridge. When you lower it down, you're closer to the microphones or the pickups over here. Pickups are just microphones, by the way. Not the same, but it's a simple way to say it. When you obviously get closer to a mic, you will get more possible distortion, and you will get more of the sound involved. You will have to play less hard, and you will get more aggressivity on it, right? So that will help the sound also. So maybe I'm playing a little bit harder to get that. If I do it like this, it's different, right? So I'm playing a little bit harder to get a little bit more of that sound, right? Maybe let's check it again. Definitely lower action. You can hear a little bit more of the fret buzz. And fret buzz is not something necessarily bad or good. It's just a consequence of having different types of adjustment on your instrument, and lots of bass takes that you can maybe find isolated on YouTube. You will hear them and you will say, "Well, it has a lot of fret buzz," and it obviously, in the context of a full mix with other instruments, you won't hear it. So a lot of bassists play with a lot of fret buzz sometimes, and it may be more scary to hear it on your own, but when you're hearing it in the context of the full band, it's not that scary, really, right? So I don't know if that's helping you. We can maybe go to another one, but I'm trying to be not that extensive, so I can cover more questions, maybe. How do you start developing a good sense of relative pitch? And this is a question that it's maybe not that bass related, but it's really, really important for any instrument. And if you're a musician, that it's not a musician that is not gifted with the what we call absolute pitch. I think it's the translation to English. When you can hear a note, and in the moment that you hear it, you can say, "Oh, it's a G," or whatever. It's something that you have to develop really on early stages of your life, so you can really have it. And if you're really that is perfect pitch. Yeah. The definition here in Chile, it's the literal definition of it. It would be absolute ear. We call it oído absoluto, absolute ear. Maybe you can use it also. And that is a thing that you have to have, and if you don't have it, you just don't have it. And the thing that you really can develop is relative pitch, and that would be maybe I don't really know if I'm not looking at my instrument and I say, okay, that note, I don't know what that note is really, but if you say to me, okay, the note that comes right after that note is maybe something like this, I can really say that that interval that's created is a fourth. And if you give me more and more information, maybe I can say, okay, that's a fourth, and this is a fifth below it. And maybe if you play a scale and you say, and you will say, okay, it's a minor scale on or an Aeolian mode or whatever, but I don't really know the note name, but I know a lot of relative things to in relation to the note that I can use to transcribe, and that is the way I really transcribe is just I hear the first note of whatever thing, and I just check it with my instrument and say, okay, that's an A, and now let's transcribe, and I'm using a lot of my relative ear to answer myself some questions. So maybe that's something that we can cover in another live solutions. Maybe developing some ear training is really the thing that will get you there, and that is mostly, I think, interval recognition. Intervals are just the distance between notes, and each interval has a name. Maybe if you have a C, an interval of a fifth is C and then G, and that is maybe you know that for the cool power chord that you can play on guitar, right? And on bass you can actually play them. And that is the name of an interval, and you have to learn the names of all the intervals and also learn how to recognize them. So that is also an important thing that you maybe can check out. How did you learn English? It's been a long process. I think I was always really a nerdy kid, if you say it's something like that, a geeky kid, and I liked video games a lot. I liked to maybe go into the internet, and if you like video games and if you like going into the internet, you're gonna find something in English that you can't really understand, and you will have to learn a little bit of English. And that's the reason maybe I use English still on the channel, is just because I know that it's kind of like has become the internet's language in a way. If you are on the internet, maybe you'll find something in English and you'll have to learn it a little bit. So that's the reason I use it, because I have people on the channel that are from anywhere in the world. So I just have to pick a language. And obviously English is more universal because of even political reasons that you can argue or whatever. But I don't like that way of maybe some people of my own country or my own continent said to me, why are you using English if you're not from that country or whatever. It's not because I don't value my culture or something like that. It's just because if I were to create a channel just in my home language on YouTube, it will just be related to that part. And if I were to do it in English, it would be more global. That's just the reason why I did it. And there's no other reason really. What else can we answer? I said that I'm from Chile. I just said it again. More questions. When did you start playing bass? Again, a common question, but I'm going to answer it. I think I started about, maybe it would be like 10 or 9 years ago. I'm not really sure, but I think in 2010 I really began playing bass more seriously. I played guitar before, maybe 2011, I'm not really sure. I played guitar before since 12, maybe 13 years old. Um, and before that, I didn't really have I don't have a musician family or musician background. It was just me trying to play some cool rock, metal, and riffs on my guitar, and I just ended up switching to bass because I just really liked it. It was needed for my band really at the moment, and then I discovered that I really liked it, um, and and that's the reason I just ended up with it. I began with guitar, as I said. It's been I think 9 years, but the last five maybe years of bass playing have been more extensive. You know, I ended up having a teacher, and I'm trying to always study things that are kind of more hard to do on the instrument, not just related to technique. I don't consider myself someone that's too technique. I just like playing a lot, and the technique is just a consequence of playing a lot. The chops, as some of you maybe say it. Um, but I really like to focus myself on knowledge of the instrument, you know, studying harmony and all of that. So maybe that's an answer. Um, I just want to say thank you. Your taps helped me not to drop the bass out of frustration. Now I take lessons and I'm more motivated to play more and learn more. Thank you very much. EPB bass. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for that comment and all the comments that you leave. Really, every day I see a comment that's just like that, and I'm really happy with that because I think that is the main objective of this channel is really doing that, approaching people that are maybe um, getting frustration out of the learning process, and encourage him to go a little bit further. And I did that because that's what happened to me. That's what really happened to me on the first attempt of playing guitar or also bass. And I was just confronted with the internet and trying to read tablatures that really weren't well transcribed, and ended up frustrating me because I thought that was the reality of playing. It was just doing hard positions and not having clarity on that, not having clarity on how to play something good with good timing and all of that. And that's what why I ended up kind of like doing the job myself and transcribing the songs myself as accurate as I could find related to the original bass player, and that is really the the beginning of the channel. So it makes me really happy to know that it's helping you that way also, right? Er, have you considered getting a fretless or a five string bass? I would really like to have a fretless bass. I'm actually considering on buying another one of these basses because I like the idea of having just this bass. Uh, maybe buying another one of those basses and remove the frets and have kind of like a switch between them. I would like something like that. Something maybe I do some eccentric things. It's not usual that the a bassist just have one bass for the entire life of his career, right? But I'm doing that because I just wanted to do it. Again, this is my first and only bass I've been using my whole um, bass career, so it's just to prove a point. Really, it's just to prove the point that that you have to focus more on the way that you are doing things and a little bit less on trying to acquire new things to be better. That is the main um, argument for me, and the reason why I do it. Okay, and I think you can really do it, at least with bass. Maybe you're kind of like doomed with other instruments. Maybe with a keyboard you can shape your sounds or whatever. But also with a keyboard, if you inject more theory, more harmony, more knowledge of yourself on and that instrument, you will get benefits, more benefits even, to limiting yourself. And don't think, I think the main message is, don't think that switching your bass will help you in obviously it will help you maybe getting more confident with your sound or whatever, but the job will be done by you, really. It won't be the instrument, right? So please consider that also, because many people always uh, comment what whatever are you using to get that sound, and I'm really using just this and just the internet. And that is everything, right? Again, shaping your tone is something that many people don't know the capabilities that you can achieve with knowing how to shape your own tone. Maybe I would like to have more questions, maybe in another session, about that. How to shape your tone is really, really important aspect to know. Um, what else? More questions? Um, what about getting different pedals and amps? It obviously will help, again. And I would love to have a good amp, because maybe in some future I will need it to just have my own sound when I'm going into a gig. Uh, but I also like the idea of adjusting to different situations. And again, the same with amps. I'm sorry, with pedals, it's the same thing. Um, I don't have any pedals. I just use digital things, plugins. If I want to achieve some sound in particular, I think my own sound, I don't want it. I don't want it to have depending on pedals, but maybe I would like to have some if I ended up playing a lot of live gigs, because when you play a lot of live gigs, you will end up noticing that you maybe need some more sound and whatever. But again, with your own tone, you can actually create many, many things if you know how to handle it. You can even create weird sounds. Just with I was just experimenting with having kind of like an octave bass sound just with my fingers, and you can create something like this. And I'm actually trying to get more of the octave sound with my own fingers, and it sounds kind of like if you're adding an octave pedal below it. It's obviously not the same effect, but you can actually. It's just an example for you to understand that you can shape many things regarding, equalization, tone, even compression. Compression is just the ability to have less or more range, to play softer or harder with a more tight range, so it doesn't go too soft or too hard, or maybe sounding harder apparently. And you can actually achieve that with fingers again, if you manage to create good dynamics. And that's another thing that I like to maybe practice sometime, is maybe you do this warm-up exercise, something like this. But maybe you always play it like that, and you're not adding a really important aspect of music, and that is dynamics, and trying to play really soft and then trying to play really hard and managing that. Maybe it changes a lot. I think you can do something like this. And you can play with that a lot, really, having the correct amount of range between, in an academic language, it would be piano and fortissimo or forte, whatever. You can actually create a lot of expression out of it, and you can maybe play a verse in a really slow, I mean a really piano motion. I don't know, just doing something like. And then you're getting ready for the chorus, and on the chorus you can actually go with more strength, and you can create a really different dynamic aspect on a song just by creating that on your own instrument. And for that you don't actually need that much compression, because it will kind of like create less difference between hard and soft. So consistency is really important, because I see a lot of players that are always playing maybe straight eighths, and each eighth note is having a different dynamic, so maybe something like. And that is a common error that you can kind of like fix if you concentrate on playing each note in the same amount of dynamics, or the same amount of strength, right? Maybe doing something like that. Having that amount of expression, it will help, right? I just read a comment there. I know that a compression does a lot more than that, and sometimes it's really necessary to. I use compression also, but I also understand that you can help compression to be kind of like managed, and you can use compression to compensate for something that you're not doing with your instrument. I don't know if I'm getting a good explanation on that, because you can be a bassist, and I mix and I master and I do all the production things also, so I kind of know something a little bit about that. When you hear a bassist on your recording and or in something that you're mixing, and the bassist doesn't have that amount of dynamic control, you maybe will be able to fix it with compression, for sure, but you'll have to use aggressive compression. You'll have to use less natural compression, confronted with the idea that if you use a lot of your own dynamic control, you will have to use less compression. And for a mixer, for someone that creates a good mix or whatever, always less is good. So as an instrumentalist, you can also help the sound of a studio session, and you can also help the sound of a live session or whatever. That is a really important thing. Um, Passive or active bass. Um, this one is passive. So I'm really used to passive basses. I think I played maybe one active bass just from someone or from some store or something like that. And the difference between them, I think, is I mean is strictly related to the idea that a passive bass it doesn't have the need for extra energy to be amped up, but with an active bass you can have a signal that is already with a little bit of amplification going into the interface or whatever, the mixing table. So that is the difference really, and it could be translated in differences in sound. Someone might say that an active bass is brighter, it has more punch or whatever. Maybe some recording engineers will prefer to use an active bass or something like that. But again, I'm kind of like an outlaw of some things related to that matter, because I don't have a collection of basses, right over here like some other people might do. Because I like the idea of just having this one. So there's some things that I really can't have an opinion about, and I'm okay with that, really. What else? Maybe maybe one or two questions more, and we can leave it like that. But I don't know if did you like something like this? Did you like hearing something like this? Is it helpful for you? Maybe you can let me know, and I can do more of these ones. I don't know if it's maybe you really can't understand me because sometimes it's hard. But you can let me know if this helps, and I can do more of these ones, maybe more often, because I just really like the idea of doing them to teach you, but also I like the idea of practicing my own speaking abilities, really. So you can let me know. Hassel Diaz, maybe guitar. I have a question: which exercise would be good so that I can play faster with my fingers? Is that I don't get a song called "Dig Bat" by Mudvayne. I know that song for sure. So the importance about exercises, I think, is vital on this point. And I think it would be right hand speed, the title of the problem. Right hand speed is something that you may be able to get frustrated a lot because you won't have it at the same speed that other bassists may have, and you may need to play a lot to develop that. You will need experience to have more or less of this. I don't know. Playing with fast motion of the fingers is something that you need to develop with a lot of experience, and it will be hard to do, and it will be messy to do if you force it, and if you're not clear on what is the process of doing it really slow. So for doing it really, really slow, I think that is the correct answer. I have some right hand exercises that you can check out on the channel, and the main idea of that is just doing warm-up exercises and trying to concentrate on doing it maybe on separations of different divisions on the right hand, maybe doing something like this: 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Maybe something like that. Always trying to have, as I said, good consistency on dynamics and all of that, but also taking care of doing alternate motion all the time. If you're beginning with index, you have to go index, middle, index, middle. If you're beginning with middle index, all the time, right? I think there's not much importance whether you begin with index or middle. I usually begin with maybe index, but I can begin with middle also. And you will, I think you'll have to be versatile on that matter, because maybe you'll start a line with a different finger, and you will be confronted with trying to go on with what you begin with, so you have to just know how to create a good motion with alternate fingers, index, middle, or middle, index, all the time, right? I don't know what else. I don't know if I answered the question correctly. Sometimes I go off topic, as you say. I think this is good for a last question from Boxing Fan. He says, or she says, would you say a teacher is always necessary, or do you think you can learn bass successfully by yourself? So I think this is the last question, and it's really an important one to be aware of. I really think if you're aiming to be proficient and maybe be a professional, it's always a good idea to have a teacher. I do have a teacher, actually. I have a teacher because I wanted to have that consistency on having weekly lessons of something that I want to attack on, and it's related to something that's more on a maybe advanced part of executing this instrument, and more advanced related to theory and all of that. But nowadays, I think you can really get a lot of knowledge from the internet. And we have to be honest about that. You can, I know with my own channel, you can get maybe in a good level of technique. Maybe with some other channels, you will be able to get good theory basics or whatever. But in some time or some aspect of your life in music, you will have to play with someone else, or you will have to speak with someone else about what you're going to do, or what are your questions, or what do you think about music or bass. And I think that is a really important thing to do, playing with other people, having a band, and also chatting with other people that have the same questions that you may have. It's a really important process. I would never say that what I do is something that you can compensate over having a good teacher. It's something that is complementary to having a good teacher, really, right? It's really a complementary thing. And I have some teacher friends. Most of my friends, I think, are teachers, and some teacher friends that actually have said to me that they use the videos to help other bassists to maybe have some material. This is more like a material uh, uh, channel, really. I do have lessons, and I like the idea of teaching, but there's always people that are more um, capable of teaching you things, and because that's their job, going into your house, or you going into their house and having that conversation is really, really, really important. So always think about having a teacher if you want to go the next level. But there's a lot of self-taught, also musicians. So you don't have to be discouraged if you can't, or if you don't want, or if you don't like the idea of having a teacher. You can, I think, honestly get at the same level in many things with this power tool that it is, having the internet on your side. Really, really, that is. So uh, I think I'm going to leave it on that last question. Um, Please let me know, really, if this helps you, if you want this to be different. I'm really open to suggestions, or maybe we can build a little bit more of this. I usually do it Fridays at this hour, um, and I'm always trying to have questions answered mainly, and that is the main idea of this. So maybe you can also prepare some questions, leave them over here. You can leave them on the comments. I can maybe choose some from the comments. I would like to talk about some things, really. So maybe I'm going to prepare some things also. I would like to talk about tone, really, because that is a really interesting thing that I've been thinking about. Thinking about what tone does to your own instrument, and how that's related to maybe some even scientific things related to the harmonic series, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Again, I'm not um, the best really on all those topics, but I can tell you what I think, and maybe it can help you, right? Um, so if you are enjoying this, and maybe if it helps you, you can let me know, and then you can give me some questions, really, right? So I'm going to read some names right on the chat, and we're going to end this, okay? Thank you for being here. I don't know, special frag out Noah Petrovsky, Clown 427, Julian Sarria, Relentless Demon, Agustin Jaime, and all of you that were here. Okay, so I'll see you maybe some other time, and let me know if you want more of this. Okay. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.